Hello everyone, this is Jeremy with Coding Contraptions. It's been a while. I've been busy with life and I have a full-time job. I took on a part-time job and so anyway, just had a lot going on. Things are settling down now, so I'm back to working on Atomic Habits, and it's something that I still think about a lot of days. Just little changes that I can make to improve my life and the lives of those around me. So let's go ahead and get into the content. We are to the point of talking about changing of habits and why we try the wrong thing. So most of the time when we try to change a habit, we're just looking at the outcomes. Like you want to go on a diet, well, you just try to cut back on food. It's not really intrinsic to you yet. So habits really have to come from an intrinsic part of who you are. And so we're going to go through some stuff about that. As you can see in the diagram on the screen in the corner, there are outcome-based habits, which are what you achieve. You're just focused on the outcomes, right? Process, which is the structure, which is better. Once you have a good system, you're going to get the outcomes that you want. I've talked about that in previous videos. And also identity. That is the key. That is where you want to get. The place where you actually believe that you are the type of person that's going to have the habits that you want. So we're going to talk about that a little bit today, touch on maybe how to get there a little bit, and just kind of go through this. So as you can see in the diagram, outcomes are about changing the results. Processes are about changing habits and systems, and identity is changing your beliefs. One level is not better than another. They're all useful in their own way. I mean, there are times when you just need to change something immediately and get something done for a couple days. There are times when it's good to make a process to improve what you're already doing. But most habits are best when you can change the identity of who you believe you are, and that is because it sets you in a direction, right? A lot of people kind of set somewhat even random habits. They have habits that kind of contradict each other. I have habits like that, myself. Sometimes I like to read books. I want to read books so I can do self-improvement. But my habit is because I feel that I am a reader, but I don't read books that are really generally helpful for success. And so I'll be listening to audiobooks and reading books that are not putting me in the direction that I want to go. So I want to consider myself more of an entrepreneur, more of a business person that's actually going to work on things that are going to have some type of passive income eventually is my goal. I'm not there yet, right? But that's the goal. So that really is where you want to be, that place where you can say, I am the type of person that I want to be, and actually believe it and be fulfilling those desires by activity. So I'm going to go ahead and take a quick pause here and bring up the next diagram. Okay, so moving on to the next section. These diagrams explain, I think, a little more fully exactly what I was talking about earlier. There are outcome-based habits that kind of start from the outside in. You have a goal. You want to be a businessman. You want to be my wife wants to become more, go more into healthcare, maybe go into nursing, or there's just things that people have in their hearts, things they want to accomplish, right? And so what happens is we change a few outside kind of surfacey things, and but we don't really believe it, right? So it just seems like you make a little change, it doesn't last very long, and then over time you go back to the old way that you were before. And so an example of that is cigarettes. So an outcome-based answer to somebody saying, talking about cigarette smoking and wanting to quit, they'll say, I'm trying to quit, right? That they're talking about the activity. But inside you can tell they still consider themselves a smoker. But identity-based habits are things that come from the identity, and they work out, and then there's a system, most people put in place once they get the identity firmly entrenched themselves. And then the outside activity is the habits. The habits really are an outpouring, a result of a change in the belief system of the person's identity. And so I'll cover later videos, I shouldn't say maybe. I'll cover later videos how to do that. But that's really where we need to start. And the better answer for the cigarette example is, no thanks, I'm not a smoker. So there's a big difference there. One is, hey, I'm quitting, I'm in the process, I gotta have what I'm doing. Another one says that I don't smoke. That's who I am as a person. And there are very different mindsets. Also, it's hard to change your habits if you never change the underlying beliefs that have led your past behavior. Because if you look at most of your habits, they're formed from something inside of you that you believe about yourself. And I see that all the time around me. There are people that I work with, people in my life, that their habits stem from what they believe about themselves. Like I have a coworker who says he isn't smart and he can't read. So guess what he never does? He never reads, he never learns, he never grows. He's been in the same job for a long, long time. Nothing wrong with that. I love the guy, a really good friend of mine, but it's just something that he's convinced himself that that's who he is, and it's not true. He's an incredibly intelligent person. He handles one of the more difficult parts of, has one of the more difficult jobs in my organization, and also the knowledge level he has to have. There's so many steps. I had to take notes to learn his job. I had to write down basically everything because there were so many steps to everything he did. But in his mind, he still considers himself to not be that smart. So he did overcome those difficulties with the job. It took him, he said it took him a long time, and he felt dumb when he was doing it. So to his credit, he pushed through and did accomplish that. I think that's great. But overall in his life, he hasn't really made the connection that he did that once with his job. He can do that really with anything he wants to. Anyway, great guy, but that's just an example of somebody who hasn't been able to make it their identity to feel a level of competence that I know he has. He basically shows it off every week that I work with him. So it's one thing to say I'm the type of person who wants this. It's something very different to say I'm the type of person who is this. The more pride you have in a particular aspect of your identity, the more motivated you will be to maintain the habits associated with it. And examples that are given from the book Atomic Habits was this, as I'm going through this, all of this stuff is stemming from that book. I want to give the credit where it's due. Proud of your biceps, you're more likely to work out, right? Proud of your body, you're more likely to get in there and work out. But I did workouts originally to get your body into shape, so there's kind of a catch-22 at that, but I hopefully get the idea. Proud of scarves that you knit, you're more likely to spend time knitting them. So there is some kind of upfront, I think, a little bit of effort to kind of get some, basically to get some examples, right? You would work out for a little bit and develop the biceps. You'd knit a few scarves, and then you would have some examples of good scarves. So I think there is a beginning stage where maybe you have to push a little bit, but once you get to that point where it's your identity, you've got it, right? So here are a few more examples. The goal should not be to read a book, for example, like in Atomic Habits. The goal is to become a reader. And I say that about myself. I do like to read. I love to read. I love audiobooks. I love reading books. And so I spend a lot of time listening to audiobooks and reading books. The goal is not to learn an instrument. The goal is to become a musician. So a lot of people say, I want to learn how to play guitar. I learn one instrument. And I think if you really consider yourself a musician and like it's part of who you are, it's going to be much easier to develop the habits. So anyway, I'm probably going to wrap up the video there. Hopefully it's helpful. I'm going to be covering more materials like I did today. And anyway, I do want to continue on. I do want to finish this book with the videos covering the entire book. And so hopefully this is helpful to you. And take care and God bless.